Welcome to the DSO Hygienist Podcast. This podcast is for everyone in the DSO space. Whether you're a hygienist, dentist, assistant, or leader, we're here to bring you expert insights, real-world strategies, and conversations to help you thrive. I'm your host, Christine Deal, and together we'll explore how to elevate patient care, grow professionally, and navigate the ever-evolving world of DSOs. Let's get started. Trehan MBA is a strategic transformation leader with over 25 years of experience driving enterprise growth, specializing in dental healthcare operations. He currently serves as a strategic change manager for a New York multi-office dental practice, where he leads enterprise-wide strategy, transformation, and optimization initiatives. Concurrently, he serves as a training and business optimization consultant at Insight by Design, where he provides leadership training, strategic planning, organizational goal setting, while embedding sustainable growth capabilities through technology and change management. Trehan founded and scaled Oral Health and Beyond in Queensland, Australia, where as Chief Operating Officer and owner, he grew the region's largest privately owned dental group to $4 million in annual revenue, with 50% year-over-year growth. His career also includes leadership roles in technology and digital strategy with organizations such as Oracle Corporation, Mindshare Australia. Trehan holds an MBA from the University of Phoenix and a bachelor's degree in business studies from Macy's University, as well as certificates as a change management professional, SCORE mentor, and working genius facilitator. He lives in the greater Arnold, Maryland area. Buying a dental practice? Here's what no one tells you. It's not just about the numbers. It's about the people. And if you lose them, you lose trust, culture, and production. That's where the DSO team transition comes in. We help you stabilize your staff, align systems, and retain your top talent, so your new practice runs smoothly from day one. Smooth transitions, stronger teams, real results. Visit DSOteamtransition.com and download your free transition checklist today. So I would like to welcome Trehan today to the DSO Hygienist podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Christine. It's amazing to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to have a chat to you today.
Yeah, I'm so glad we met at Dykema. It's been such a great time getting to know you. So we're just going to start right with the questions. So let's start with the problem that you're solving. Your research shows that administrative costs in healthcare jumped from 22% to 34% between 1983 and 2017. So what are you seeing specifically in a multi-site dental practice?
Yeah, great question. I mean, when I looked at that number, it's not surprising when you look at the amount of administrative costs we're having to put into the business, predominantly around insurance claims and managing the complexity of the business that is dentistry. And it's interesting enough, the medical area seems to be a little bit more ahead of where we are in terms of managing costs and processing claims. So dentistry, it's estimated, I've heard, is about 10 years behind where medical is. So it's an interesting fact because it means that potentially we've got the opportunity to really accelerate with AI to help manage the costs, help our team be more empowered, and give our patients a much better experience through looking at what's happening here in America and globally with AI, and then applying it to our practices to really start to drive efficiencies across our entire business. And I guess the challenge is, where do you kind of start in this area? And for a lot of organizations, it's looking at costs. I mean, it's a reality of running a business at the moment. So there's the motive there, and you kind of know, well, I need to manage costs better. How do I go about using AI to kind of help me do that? And what are the considerations that I have to put in place to think about how do I do that within my own business?
Sure. So you say doing nothing means going backwards. That is a pretty strong statement. So what do practices risk by waiting to adopt AI, And why is timing so critical right now with AI?
I think doing nothing means initially actually understanding that AI does provide you with opportunities, and it's not a threat, it's an opportunity. And it's about getting your organization accustomed and comfortable to what the parameters of AI actually mean. Because I guess the reality is a lot of your team members, you might even be using AI within the business already, or what we call ghosting AI, where it's happening in terms of people running reports and FP&A teams, back office teams using it, maybe your receptionist using, or maybe even yourself using it, and it's not being managed in the best way that you can extract the best value out of it. So I think we all kind of need to get comfortable with the fact that this is the new reality, or the wave of things, like an iPhone was when that was deployed, right? You remember when that came out and everything changed. Well, we're kind of hitting this new wave now with AI, and the speed at which it's happening is also challenging for us. The speed of which we're getting new information and dealing with it on a daily basis is pretty much doubling every 2 days. So handling the change is difficult, and that's why change management as part of AI is really important, because it can be slightly more emotive in terms of the fact that it is something that's new. I don't know how to go about attacking it. I know it's a problem, so what do I need to do? So I think that's why I kind of say if you're not doing anything, you're going backwards, because with the adoption of AI is happening so quickly, and if you look at other industries, they're kind of picking it up very quickly. The technology part of the businesses, medical, healthcare is using it extensively and within the medical field now already. And you've really got to kind of get your handle on it. And where do I start using AI in my business? And I think that the starting point is having a conversation around it's a reality, and how do we start this journey so that we're getting the best benefits now and into the future.
Right. And you mentioned that most AI, that the projects can fail. It's not the technology, but it's because of that change management, which I totally understand. So, what's the most common mistake practices are making when they're implementing AI on their own?
I think it kind of comes back to the thought that is purely a technology implementation. And that's where the challenge is. And interestingly enough, at Dykema, the main message around AI was the fact that it isn't the technology that's the problem, it's the change management of getting it within the business itself, which is the reality. And the reason is that it can potentially be seen as a threat to our team. Are you judging me on what I'm doing? Are you running reports? Or am I going to lose my job? Or what does this mean to me on a daily basis? And I think, the idea of having AI as part of your business, or what they describe as a second opinion, is a really good way of kind of positioning it in your own mind and talking to the team. So we're going to have somebody within the organization, which is AI, helping us, guide us, providing us some freeing up time for doing stuff, providing us some different opinions or thoughts around things. And you see that when you use AI regularly, maybe using Chat GPT to ask it some questions. At times it does prompt for, have you thought about this? Or this is another perspective on things, which is awesome, right? It's giving you ideas on what you can do. So that's why I kind of say you need to kind of get used to familiar with how it works, and it's not threatening, and that it's there to help increase productivity, to make your life easier in your role, and to free you up from tasks that are maybe boring or repetitive, that you can offload to an AI or maybe another team that can do that more effectively. It might be RCM automated calling, or it could be bots reading screens and things like that. So I think the value is to understand kind of where it can add the value, and then going about what the path looks like for that. And that's a challenging bit once again. But I think we might see in our organizations where some teams are using it already that are doing it well. Awesome. Okay, that's great. How can we accelerate that? Put a bit more fuel on that one to blow that one up. Maybe some team members, you see they've got some activities that they're doing where you see that AI could really help them. So maybe it's helping make phone calls. That's an example of where it could speed things up for them and make their life, I don't really like making those calls. It's so painful to the insurance businesses. Right, okay, well, let's pull that off your plate, and we can get you focusing on the more value valuable ones, which are the more complex cases. And clinically, if I'm looking at things, well, potentially it's a second opinion. So I like the radiography AI components of things where it's really helping, giving you a way to educate patients. Oh my goodness, is that how a decay looks like on a tooth? Or here are some opportunities for kind of what it might look like 6 months ago, but this is what it looks like six months now from that process. So it can provide those really interesting ways of doing it. And it's not scary, and you're not gonna kill anybody by using it like a computer. It's just being confident and comfortable and starting in one position and testing and trialing and how it goes.
Yeah, we use AI, the X-ray AI in our office, and I really
Oh,
like
great.
it. And I definitely think the doctor does use it as a second opinion because sometimes, sometimes it's on the fence, so to
Yeah,
speak,
correct. Yeah. Once again, it's kind of tools that you can use, because what we're going to give you is tools that I like to describe that you wear around your belt, like a builder's belt, and you've got these little things that you can pull and plug and play as you like that are going to suit the situation. And I think that's what AI is going to give us, is these set of tools that will help us in different situations. Now, I don't know what all those tools are going to be. I can't tell you your belt's going to have these type of tools at the moment, because I don't know if I know or anybody else knows, but we might have one tool that we might start with, and then that might be either modifying that tool, or we might find another tool that we can put into our belt that we can use in other situations as well.
Yeah. So you position yourself as an independent partner between dental offices and AI vendors. So how does being a vendor neutral benefit practices compared to working directly with solution providers?
Well, I think, for 5 to 40 size multi-site locations, having the time to be able to work out what's in the marketplace can be challenging. And because it's rapidly changing so quickly, vendors are coming out with new products and services and add-ons all the time. Trying to keep with that, ahead of that, to understand what the requirements are that you have, and then matching that to vendor can take time. So there's one component of it where I can kind of help sit between and basically help you understand what your requirements are. So a lot of the times, you don't quite know what you don't know until somebody starts asking you questions about what may be good for your business. And you usually start with, well, what are your pain points at the moment? Where are the areas that if we could help you, save some time, save some money, give a better patient experience, would you like to do? And then by narrowing that down, you can then kind of make an assessment. Oh, well, if it's around this area, maybe patient experience, well, there may be stuff around making calls, or there may be automation of marketing that could help you a little bit more. Or maybe it's the back office component around RCM functions. What's taking the most time and seems to be adding so much cost to you? So that's the start of the conversation. Now, people often say, well, wouldn't you start with strategy around AI? Well, actually, I'm not sure. In some circumstances, yes, maybe you might. But other times, I think it's actually understanding where your organisation's at and your needs are at, and maybe the strategy for AI might not be appropriate for you at the moment, which is fine, or maybe it might be, but you're not sure where to start. So, what an independent person can do is kind of help you guide through what that pathway may look like, what's involved in it, and I guess most importantly, how to kind of get it up and going with a pilot is my recommendation. So we've got an idea or assumption around something. We want to test that hypothesis. So let's scope it out, what's going to be required. How can we manage it in a way that's not going to cause collateral damage to your business, in terms of knowing previously what's happened in other implementations? So take those learnings from when you've implemented stuff before, and those best practices, and apply them to the rollout of things. Now, luckily in the dental industry, the range of tools are wide, but they're not extensive that you wouldn't know that potentially some vendors would have these kind of services. So it would be relatively good. But as I say, the speed of change is quick, so you want to know. Also, a thing that I consider a lot of time why you want to have somebody independent. I think data is critical to any organisation. And knowing the pathway for data and helping you plan a pathway for data is going to be important, because rubbish in equals rubbish out of data. And knowing how to kind of manage and do workarounds on data is important. I see one of the considerations I have with AI, if I'm just going to put my Excel spreadsheet into AI in whatever uncontrolled environment I might be putting it in, which is not a good idea, it will potentially amplify the nature of the problem. So it's not going to know the full context of the data you're giving. There may be errors in the data. And so you need somebody to be able to, what I call, discern the data, to understand where the problems, and that's working with the organization and saying, well, this looks a bit odd. What does it look like to you? Does this sound or feel or look right to you? Or I've seen similar patterns around this data. Because I think when you roll out AI, you have to be very cautious around the information that you're providing to your teams, that it's credible and that it's correct. Because if you don't do that in the right way, then people are going to dismiss AI and think, it's no good, I'm not going to rely on it, and they won't trust on it. So you really need to have some experience in how you're going to manage that situation. Once again, the change management within and how you position it with the team is, well, it's only a second opinion, but we can still rely on it for particular types of information. Or we know our data is good to this extent, but I would be less reluctant to rely on around ABC because I know that we've got internal issues around stuff as well. So in summary, that's kind of the approach that you want to take, a look and learn approach, and then mapping it out in terms of what the first step would be. And that's why having somebody independent that can kind of guide you in that pathway, I think adds value in terms of the speed at which you want to deploy stuff, and also making sure that you're doing it in the right manner from a change management and embedding. Because at the end of the day, we want to get it in, we want to make sure it sticks, and we want to make sure it's sustainable in the long run for the business.
Got it. So let's talk real numbers. You have a case example showing a 10 location practice generating $25 million in revenue. They're achieving a $3.25 million EBITDA lift. Walk us through how you calculated that and how realistic is that for practices listening?
I think, look, I want to present that one by saying this is kind of a guide and it's a standard guide, but it does give you an indication of the percentage breakdown by particular parts of the business. So you might be seeing greater cost efficiencies in RCM in particular because of the time it takes to do a particular task, in particular insurance verification. And you can kind of look at, well, if I used a phone calling system or a bot system, it takes this amount of time, and comparing that to my average hourly rate of team members and the cost of which it's costing me to do that through the service provider, I've potentially got a saving of 1.5 to 2 team members that might be in place for that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get rid of the team members. You may redeploy them into other areas of the business. So it's a potential saving that you can kind of look at by each area, but you can decide how you want to redeploy that. Another example is if you want to pull out phone calls from reception. Okay, that's awesome that you want to do that. Does that really meet your customer experience needs? Do you really want to do that they have to navigate through an IVR system? Or are you going to help them just get to the right point of contact or the most appropriate person, which may be better? Or if it is going to be kind of farmed out and done mostly, and you've got reception team members now not taking calls, how are you going to redeploy that resource? Do you want them just sitting around on their phones looking at Facebook and Instagram? Or do you want them to kind of focus on the higher value of stuff? So I think when I'm looking at holistically around implementing IT and these solutions, I am thinking upstream and downstream implications of where the savings or opportunities sit. A vendor will only really be looking at the deployment of their tool and what the benefit is, but I see the upstream and downstream implications as much wider in terms of, well, if I have that free time now, okay, I can really focus on patient conversions. I can get them making sure that the financing's done quicker kind of phase, or the treatment planning is kind of taking longer. If I'm looking at hygiene, I mean, that's a really awesome example. I know that if you're moving to transcribe AI notes within the operatory itself with a hygienist, potentially you can save 10 minutes of your time with the patient and taking notes and speeding up the process, which means I've got 10 minutes more to talk to them and be more engaged in the conversation. So that's where I'm kind of looking why you've got treatment conversions then should be going up. Also, if I'm thinking about that, risk and a risk is important in terms of note taking. Well, the note taking is going to be more quality, it's going to be more compliant. So there's a minimizing of risk, which is a saving to the business as well. And also, from a patient perspective, it looks like, and it is, that we're more technology forward as a business as well. So the perception of the business is increased as well. So no matter what kind of business you kind of see it landing in. I think there's opportunities from savings in terms of timing, but that's not doesn't necessarily need to be physical dollars that you're going to get rid of teams, but redeploying of team members. There'll be more efficiency in terms of how your team are processing things and getting answers back quicker. So particularly if I'm looking at reporting, which I love reporting, because it really helps me drive the business. So the quicker I can get numbers same day and that they're reliable, I can make quicker decisions around resourcing of my team members, or I can make a decision around my forward book. How's the schedule looking? So there's a lot of areas for opportunity to do that. So no matter what your business is, and with administration costs going, there's an easy one to start with, but also look at how you can help your team be more effective, like in the hygiene area, and give a better experience at the same time.
So there's so many AI vendors out there. Like it's like the buzzword, everybody's AI now. So how do you help a practice determine which solutions they should put in place first?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And when I look at AI being attached to things, um, I guess from a marketing perspective, it's relatively easy to do. But once you start drilling and talking to vendors and actually getting deeply into what does AI mean for that organization and how is it being used, and it once again comes to the data. So, when I'm looking and talking to vendors, I'm interested in how the data can be pulled out from their systems, because if it's only pure visual and I'm running screenshots, it's impossible for me as a multi-location to be able to tell what's happening in the business. So I need to know that the data is freely available, and that the minimum it needs to be as a CSV or Excel form, but ideally an API or an open connection to the data. So those are things I basically going to start to look for and have conversations. Then I'm going to kind of ask questions around, so what intelligence has been applied to these findings? So if it's let's talk about, let's say, the radiography for AI. So what is it telling me in terms of what cases have we missed? What cases historically can we pull through? How much money is on the table for this? What can we convert for that? Those are what I'm looking for, is stuff that it will automatically come through and tell is verified for me. That's easy. Has the insurance been verified before even the patient arrives at the office? That's a really easy one, and you're seeing that happening now. And is a form that's created as part of treatment notes, is that compliant or ready for that particular insurance company? Now, I was talking to a vendor in the last week, and they were more generic notes. Well, obviously, different insurance companies have different requirements, and now they're tightening down on things. They might want particular words included in notes. So how does your AI account for that to make sure when you're submitting a claim that all the right words and requirements are in by insurance? So those are the things I'm kind of going to be asking. And I'm thinking about the roadmap for the future as well. So I'm not thinking about here and now. I'm thinking 18 months ahead probably. And what is the business going to look like in 18 months? So what do I need to be asking now that I know I'm going to roll out in 18 months that I need to have it? And I come back to the data thing is probably one of the most important conversations I need to have, because if I'm getting systems that are locking down and not giving me data, or it's not interoperable, or I can't bring it together on the platform, you're going to be really stuck, because you're going to get a lot more information coming through from AI, and you're going to be like drinking out of a fire hydrant. Oh my goodness, where do I start? So I think, that's the point for me. And I think have a discussion with your vendors, get a true understanding what they understand AI to mean, and what does their roadmap look like in terms of development, and how far out that development is, and talk to a range of them as well, because they all have different capabilities and different experience, and you want somebody that you can trust and rely on, and that's kind of part of the process to understand when you're looking at vendors, that they've got that credibility, they've got a great roadmap, and you can see there's investment in that technology that's going to benefit you now and into the future as well.
Yep, there's a lot of vendors out there. So let's talk about the human element. What does successful AI adoption look like from a staff and a provider perspective? And how do you actually get the buy-in?
Yeah, that's a really awesome question, Christine. I think, as I said at the beginning, AI can seem threatening to you. It can be seen like, is it going to take away my job? Is it going to question what I'm doing in my daily business? Yeah, maybe it can be doing those bits, but if we take a perspective of it, that it's going to help my job, it's going to empower me more with more knowledge, that it's going to free up things that are very painful for me to do at the moment. It's going to make my weekly reporting way easier, and it's going to help me with my team training. And you know what? It's probably going to even help with my patients in terms of how they can access information around our services, and we can get information to them. So I think positioning in an optimistic manner that even though this is change is significant and I don't know all the answers and I can't tell you what it's going to mean in 18 months because we're dealing with a lot of ambiguity, what I can tell you in the here and now is there's ways in which we can implement it in our business in small pockets of pilots, and we can get your feedback on it and we can evaluate it, and if it works well, that's awesome. We'll throw some fuel on it and make it work better. And you know what, if it's not working properly and it's not working for us, that's okay. Let's get rid of it and try something else and keep on innovating. So I think you need to have a team that trusts you, that trust each other, that know that things are not going to work out properly. If it's not giving the right answers, that's okay as well, because we are being innovative, and with innovation comes, not things are not going to work all the time, but you don't try anything you don't know, right? And giving the empowerment to the team members to be involved in the decision making. And that's really important in terms of that they get to evaluate the tools. So if I'm looking at radiography AI, I would, as a consultant or, I would provide options for your team and give them the tick box approach on who has what. I would get them trying it, and I would get them having ownership over which one they like the most and why they want to do that. And then they feel like they're bought into the solution. And if they're bought into the solution, they're going to help sell it to everybody else for you, and you'll get traction. But once again, start small. I wouldn't do a rollout for everybody. I would start in a pilot environment and take it from there in terms of what's working well and doing it. So that's why the change is important. And I think, if I'm thinking about change management, I really believe that our team members turn up to do a good job every day. And how do we enable them to do that as successfully as possible and make their jobs easier and more rewarding? And I really think there's an opportunity to do that with AI. And we just, as managers and leaders, we have to demonstrate how we can do that and build trust within the team to deliver it.
So your implementation requires a lot of stakeholders, operations, leaders, dental specialists, or data specialists, from within the practice. What if the practice doesn't have these resources available?
Yeah, and that's a really great question as well, because it's a fast moving area and we don't quite know what we don't know until we get into it. So I think that the way to approach it is to start with maybe an organizational survey. So kind of get to understand who does what within the business, where the areas of interest or value are seen with AI within the business. And from that assessment, then you can determine a starting point and who you need to build up engagement with. So there's that component of it, and that's how I would kind of approach it in terms of starting in that way. And then I would work out, well, which bits am I missing? Well, the data bit's a missing bit. Okay, can I get somebody that can come and help with data? Or is there a workaround? Or do we have to park that project and go on to one that's a little bit easier and start with something else until I know that on my roadmap in 12 months' time, you know what, I'm going to work on the data. It's going to take me 12 months, but I know by next June that I'm going to be in a good spot to start that process. The other bit that we're kind of looking at is the data governance and rails around it. So we talked at the beginning about people ghosting with AI. Well, there are risks associated with pushing up medical information, patient information into generic AI systems. So we would probably want to have guidelines that we want to set within the business, and would have escalation points or ownership. So you might have HR involved in it. You might have your finance team involved in it. You'll have somebody from operations and a leadership who will provide maybe case studies, or you would work around scenarios around how we're going to manage the situation around the data and managing the governance of it, because that's going to be really important moving forward, that we can manage it, and we've got a solution. So you might say, I'm not going to use generic AI, I'm going to invest in an enterprise one where we are containing and holding as an organization all our own data ring-fenced into our own business, which means we're not sharing it with anybody else. But the benefits of that are that we can also build our own little bots or agents within that area that can self-serve and do training for the team. So you can kind of build in benefits associated with it. So getting those people on board, getting them to understand it. And with the team that I'm working with at the moment in the finance area, we talk every week about how we make AI as part of our regular job every day to make things easy for us. And one example for finance is about reporting. Oh, how can you use it to validate that the numbers are correct, that all the fields have been filled out correctly? Real simple stuff. And by that, you're building up a coalition of team that are interested in it. And then from there, you can start to build your pilots and kind of build it out.
So, if you're looking 3 to 5 years ahead, what will the competitive gap between practices that don't embrace AI versus those who do?
It's going to be exponential, I think. If you don't do anything, at least get on board the bus now, you are going to be left way behind because the speed of acceleration of AI is so quick that, if you're looking at growing your business and you haven't got it implemented, or you haven't at least got a roadmap for what you're doing, you're going to be affected by your costs. You're going to be affected by looking at your patient satisfaction and engagement in terms of speed of things, and also your team engagement as well. So all those things are going to take time to accelerate. And as things accelerate and people hop into things quicker, then you're going to be further behind in terms of the roadmap. So as I say, you've kind of run with the numbers, and I believe you're going to be, if you're not getting on board now, you're going to probably be a year and a half, 2 years behind if you're not doing something now to at least get on the roadmap. I don't think it's good for you to wait till June next year, our next financial period, to start to do something. Don't be afraid. Get it up and going. If it's not working, move on to the next opportunity. It's not going to kill you, but it is really going to do, and you'll take the learnings from it. I think that's the most important thing. A lot of people dealing with this ambiguity. Get on board on the bus, start the process, get a basic understanding where you're heading on that bus, and start test and trialing stuff so that you can get the value out of what's happening here and now. And then you're going to be in a much better position than just sitting on your hands waiting for it to get better, or something will come along that's more easier to do.
Well, Trehan, I really want to thank you today. I think you've made us all much smarter. So thank you for that. If our listeners would like to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they reach you?
Easy. You're welcome to give me a call at any time. My mobile number is 410-693-1995. Or you can email me at trehan1@gmail.com. Or find me on LinkedIn as well, Trehan Stenton, that's my surname. Easy way to get hold of me there. I'm happy to have an informal chat around anything, or you got some ideas or problems, or you found something that's awesome, whatever's good, or change management is how I love change management, about how you handle a situation and how you're doing things. So anything AI, anything's change management, I love it. Give me a call, email me, or message me. It's awesome. And thank you very much, Christine. It's been awesome to chat to you, and thanks for providing the opportunity for people to learn about getting on board with AI and really making a difference for yourself and your team and your businesses as well.
Well, I really, really appreciate this today. Like I said, I think you made us all smarter. So take care.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the DSO Hygienist podcast. Please follow or subscribe to be alerted of new episodes.